Hello everyone. Today's video is going to be another cozy catch up. I've got a few things that I want to catch up with you on. Quick catch up on my traveler's notebook and how things are going in my memory keeping journal side of things. And I'm gonna do something that I did last year, which is talking myself out of wanting things from the Hobonichi store. So I did a video like this last year and it was so helpful in allowing me to really think through, be ruthless with my decision making, and I was able to eliminate things from my consideration set. So I think I'm going to do that again this year. I think it's going to give me some accountability and it's just going to be helpful to get in the mindset before I make any purchases for 2026. And I have a feeling that's about all we're gonna have time for today. So if that sounds like something that would interest you, then I invite you to grab yourself a tea, coffee, water, whatever beverage of choice, a snack, and something to keep you company and help you feel cozy while we hang out and catch up. Also, I am filming in a new location in my home. I'm actually sitting cross-legged on the floor at my coffee table, which is one of my favorite spots to be in my home. I actually use this coffee table usually for journaling. It's more natural for me to sit on the floor, and this coffee table is really nice and big, so I love to spread all my things across it. I don't typically journal at my desk, which is where I usually film, because I work at my desk, so I like to do my journaling in a different location. And seeing as how this table is a little closer to the window, I get some nice natural light, and yeah, I just thought I would give this a try. So let me know what you think of this location, and maybe I'll do my filming from here from now on. And this past weekend, I actually was able to breathe some new life into this coffee table. So this coffee table was in my childhood home, and I basically begged my parents for it when I moved out, and it was quite worn out. So several years ago, I sanded down the top layer and fully intended to stain it, but I just never got around to it. And finally, I'm actually glad that I didn't, because I learned more about the difference between using a stain and using like an oil for teak, which is what this is made of. So this past weekend, I put 2 coats of, I think it was tung oil, and I'm so happy with how this looks. It just feels so warm and cozy now in my living room. And yeah, it just so many good memories on this table. I did homework at this table. I've eaten so many meals at this table. I've played board games at this table, and I also do all my journaling on it. So it seemed fitting to also hang out with you at this table as well. Okay. So my drink of choice today is a coffee, and my snack of choice is half a matcha and white chocolate cookie from Uncle Tetsu, which is a Japanese bakery in Toronto. I guess the first thing that I want to say is that I've always sort of been a 1 year in one book kind of person. So what I really love about Hobonichi is that their books, except for the Avec series, tend to cover an entire year. So, I was using this week's as a health and wellness tracker, and I was using this week's as a meal planner / house stuff. In the back, I was using it for like media, I guess media logging or media tracking. The reason why I switched my journaling into a traveler's insert, so this year I have been using a vertical weekly from Traveler's Notebook, and they do create these in half-year inserts, which wasn't my preference, but I was in Japan at the time that I bought these vertical inserts, and I was just feeling so inspired by Traveler's Notebook, and I guess I just wanted even more reasons to be in it. And I do love the overall Traveler's Notebook aesthetic. So I picked these up. I stamped them when I was in the Kyoto Traveler's Factory, and I thought it would be a nice way to have these memories of my trip throughout the year. And that is true. I've really enjoyed using these inserts. And one thing that I do like about having the half-year books, surprisingly, is because I like to put pictures and different pieces of ephemera into my journal, they do bulk up, and it is nice to switch out into another insert. At the half-year mark, this was getting really heavy, and it was nice to switch into something smaller. Having said that, this Traveler's Notebook is actually starting to feel really bulky already. This is starting to bulk up. And then I've always had a second insert that I use for more stream of consciousness journaling. And I haven't been updating this as much because when I started The Artist's Way, I used a separate Traveler's Notebook insert for my morning pages. So what this is kind of becoming is, this is like a sort of highlights of the week with a very short description of what I want to remember from that week, which I think has worked out pretty well. And then this is a space where if I want to, I can add more ephemera or more detail on a page. So for example, on the weekend, it was my partner's birthday, and I collected some ephemera from some of the things that we did, and I didn't think I could, like, instead of taking up this whole space, I just put a little blurb about it, and then I used this insert to add more details. So these books would kind of go together, where this would be like an overview, and then this would be more context. So it's working fine, but now that we're starting to think about 2026, I'm finding myself just wanting to take a moment to decide if I want to continue doing this again next year. In a lot of ways, I've really enjoyed this style of journaling, and I'm definitely going to finish the year like this, so it'll be nice to have a full year just in 2 books and to be able to have all my highlights laid out like this. On the other hand, this type of journaling is also not always the greatest in some ways, where I usually wait until the whole week is done before I start filling in this spread, just because I don't necessarily know what's going to be a highlight until the end of the week. And the way that I do this journaling is typically I will kind of write down all the events that happened, and then I will pick 4 photos that I'll want to print with my Canon selfie. So I sort of limit myself to 4 photos usually. And then I will build my spread around those 4 photos. So Maybe I could do it differently where I could kind of fill them in throughout the week, but usually the big events happen on the weekend anyway. And so like it works, but it also is kind of restrictive, and I'm feeling like it would be nicer if I was filling it out as the week progressed. So instead of waiting until Sunday night to do my spread, it might be nice to be journaling throughout the week, which I think is why sometimes daily journaling does appeal to me. But I've never attempted daily journaling unless you consider just writing journaling, like my morning pages. That style of journaling is something that I've always done pretty consistently, even if it's not every single day, but that's usually more like processing kind of journaling, like how I'm feeling. Sometimes it's what I'm doing, but it's definitely not creative like this. And I do really enjoy having these photos in here because I think it really helps to trigger my memories a bit better. And this is definitely something that I enjoy flipping through a lot more. And I don't tend to go back and read my stream of consciousness journaling. Like sometimes I do, but usually I don't. I won't open it and flip through it in the same way that I will with this type of journal. So yeah, that's one kind of dilemma that I'm having for next year is, do I want to continue my creative journaling in a traveler's notebook? I know I want to do some type of creative journaling like this, but whether I do it again in an insert like this or in another way, that's one thing that I need to figure out before I really start to make purchase decisions. I like the idea of having free form inserts where I can just dip in and out of, but I do really like having some kind of chronological order or structure to it, I've realized. So I like to use Traveler's Notebook inserts for like a special interest type of thing. I have an insert that I use for my ink log, and that's not really dated. It's just anytime that I ink a pen up, I try to remember to log it in that insert. I also have another Traveler's Notebook that I use for all of my Happy Mail. So anytime I receive Happy Mail, I usually make a spread using elements of the whatever I got in the Happy Mail. So that's not necessarily tied to a year. It's more just a space to collect like things. It's weird. I don't mind having inserts for my stream of consciousness journaling. It doesn't bother me if I'm in a few different inserts throughout the year. I used to prefer having like a bigger volume, but now I actually find it quite freeing to be able to finish inserts and just use them for writing. But when it comes to like the creative memories or like a chronological order of memories, I do want it to be tied to a year because as I get older, my memory isn't the greatest. So it's much easier for me to wrap my mind around a year, and then I can kind of think about what happened in that year. So that has left me feeling a little unsure. So I still like this concept, and I think it could work. If I were to get another weekly vertical, I would have 2 volumes for 2025, just like I did like this year. And then I could have these extra context notebooks that I could supplement. So this, I'm not sure how many I would go through, but I could, in theory, have these all together and have that be sort of like one book. And I know Katie's Craft Studio has recently shared a video where she has taken a bunch of inserts and managed to bind it together in a book. So I think that could be very doable. And then I could have, you know, a few, like these 2 inserts plus this extra insert all in one book in theory. So I think that could definitely be an option. But the other thing that I'm considering is whether I want to get something like a week's that has the whole year in one book, and then having it kind of already bound in something like this. And I did kind of experiment with putting pictures on almost every week in this week's mega, which, by the way, in case you're curious, this is the difference between a standard week's and a week's mega. I think the week's mega has 3 times as many notes pages as the standard weeks. And it does puff up. Like you can see, I got to about June or July, and I put pictures, and it did get thicker. But I think if I were to use something like this, I would probably have pictures on only one side of the page, and then I don't think I would add too many photos in the notes pages other than having like a few for the movies that I'm watching. So that's an idea. And one thing I like about this layout for memory keeping is that I have a dedicated space for every day. So I can come in here and I can fill this out throughout the week, instead of this approach where I'm waiting until Sunday and then I'm kind of doing everything at once. So just some things to think about. I mean, there's obviously a little more room here from the perspective of like, I mean, I don't actually know if there's more room here because there is this sidebar here. And then there's a little real estate up here that I guess, like, I don't know. And these grids are smaller. So I don't know if maybe this ends up being about the same, but I don't know. So anyway, that's something that I'm thinking about. It's not like a major dilemma by any means. I mean, these are really small problems to have, but I just want to have a little more clarity before I start buying things. Like I don't even know if I'm going to buy another weekly vertical, even though I have enjoyed this. And it starts to feel a little hard. It's also kind of restrictive if there's more than just 4 memories. For some weeks when there's a lot going on, I just find that I want to include more photos, and it does feel a little restrictive. So that also makes me wonder if maybe a 1 day a page could be better. But despite the temptation to go into a 1 day a page journal, there's another part of me that feels like I will really be setting myself up for a lot of extra work. I think committing to 1 page a day is a project in itself. It's like taking on a year-long project. And I know technically this is a year-long project, but it doesn't feel as demanding as a 1 page. So I don't know. I mean, there's always the option of, say, going into an A6. I don't know that I could commit to that. So I think a weekly memory keeping probably makes the most sense, but whether I continue in this style or whether I consider going into a Hobonichi weeks, that's something I'm gonna sit through and think through. So if any of you have any thoughts on that, I would love to hear them. And the other thing too is this is getting really thick. So if I were to just have an insert for like ephemera or more context type of journals, and then I were to not have this, like this would be a lot more manageable. But right now it's just getting really chunky, and it's going to get even more chunky as time goes on. And actually, I'm almost finished this insert. I just have to add a little more information into these pages, these last 2 pages. My plan is to move into this insert next, and I'm gonna decorate the cover later, but I just wanted to shout out Adri, who shared a tutorial on printing squares on blank traveler's notebook inserts. I tried it out. I had a little bit of trouble figuring out the margins, so I don't know if you can see, but some of the squares get cut off a little bit, and then in other cases I have like quite a margin, so I think that's on me and just needing to learn my printer settings a little bit better. But for the most part, this worked really well, and I cannot wait to move into this insert. Actually, I just have to finish 1, 2, and then I'm done. I've done this insert. So that's something I'll do after this video, but that's the update there. So now I'm gonna move on to talking myself out of wanting everything from the 2026 Hobonichi lineup. I know there are some of you who are not fans of Hobonichi and after what happened last year, so if you're tired of hearing about Hobonichi, I totally understand. This is really an attempt for me to snap out of it and be realistic about what makes sense. So what I usually do is as soon as the full lineup is announced, I will go through the entire page and I will heart everything that catches my eye. I won't really think too hard about it because I know that I will be doing a second pass later. And then what I will do is, this is a bit extra, but as an analog person, I just prefer to see things in this way. It probably comes from my UX background, where back when we all worked in offices, we would do brainstorming sessions with actual physical sticky notes. And it was so helpful to have these physical sheets and thoughts and just to have it laid out so that you can see everything at once and then start to really understand like how they kind of work together. So I just find that this is very helpful for me to wrap my head around the entire collection. So that's what I'm going to do today. So what I did was I took like screenshots of all of these things, and then I printed them out, and then I cut them out. So I'm just going to lay these all out. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll try to group them based on, oh, I have 2 of these. Okay. I think I'll just kind of group them based on what type of book they are. And while I'm doing this, I will tell you that I am, oh, I have a couple doubles. I am planning on limiting myself to 1 weeks and 1 A6. And that's based on if I want to essentially have the same thing as I did this year. And because I'm a little undecided about that, that's why I am not going to make an order yet, because I'm still not sure if I do want to do the exact same thing. So this year I've successfully completed my 1 book July experiment, and I'm fairly certain that I want to stick with having the majority of my planning, including my health tracking and my meal planning, in 1 book. It's working really well. It's great to only have 1 book. Like, it's great to have it all in 1 book. And I've really loved using my weeks as a like movie kind of log. So I'm thinking about potentially using a weeks as like a media consumption log. So that's one thing that I am thinking about. Or as I talked about earlier in this video, I am contemplating using a Weeks as more of like a memory keeper to replace my traveler's notebook, so that the entire year will be in one book. And yeah, so that's kind of where my head is at. To compare to the previous years, in 2023, that was the first year that I made an order directly from Hobonichi. I was just super excited. So I got that year, I got a cousin, I got an A6, I got 3 weeks. So that was a lot of books, and I did have a purpose for each of them, but as you can imagine, as the year went on, I stuck with the cousin, the A6, and 2 of the weeks, but one of them did not work. And actually, I bought it in 2023, but I used them in 2024. And then 2024 is when I downsized from the cousin as my full planner to the A6. And then in 2024, for 2025, I bought a cousin, an A6, and I bought 2 weeks. So it was 1 week for meal planning, 1 week for health and wellness tracking, the A6 for planning, and the cousin for like work, as a workbook, because I loved using it so much. This year, I am going to limit myself to 1 week. If I decide after the year starts that I absolutely must have another week's because I've come up with the best idea on how to use it, I'm just going to wait for the spring start, because I remember feeling overwhelmed with having 2 weeks in 2025. I don't want to start off the year doing the same thing. So I'm going to do the same with the cousin. I really love the cousin, and there is a part of me that worries that I'm going to miss it, because I love writing on the paper. I love using it, but if I'm really honest with myself, I just was not using the cousin to its full potential in 2025. So unless my life situation changes and I have a legitimate need for more space, then I can also get that in the spring. So I'm trying to remind myself that I already know for sure I have a really solid use case for the A6. So let's take a look. This is everything that I hearted, that I favorited. And I've kind of categorized these as like accessories, notebook, weekly supplement. I mean, this is a given. This thing is like $12 Canadian, I think, and it's so useful that I'm definitely getting this. But I do really wish there was something like this in existence with cream paper. But anyway, so I'm definitely getting this weekly supplement. Here, let me actually move. This makes more sense to me. So I'm going to put this notebook as accessories. So we'll talk about accessories in a bit. You can see that I have 8 weeks that I loved. This is crazy. And then here I just have covers. Let's start. I have always wanted to try a bow and tie weeks, and every year there's another design that I like more, but I do love weeks that have a really nice like tactile feel. In my first year, the first ever weeks I got was one of these color weeks, because I bought it kind of in the middle of the year and it was on a heavy discount. It was a pink weeks, and I loved how it felt. This isn't really fabric, but it kind of feels like fabric. I don't know, maybe it is fabric, but this was a really lovely feel, and I loved it. And then the next year, that year that I bought the 3 weeks, I bought the Love It Panda, and I bought a black cover. It was like a twinkle star kind of weeks. It was, I think it was this design, but in a weeks. And it was a beautiful design, but it was so shiny, and you could see all your fingerprints on it because it was a black cover. So I didn't like it. And anyway, I've just always been very curious about the fabric weeks. So these two over here are weeks that I like because I'm kind of curious about the fabric. So this one is the bow and tie, and then this one I think is like a t-shirt kind of style, and I love brown. I love my neutral colors. So these two made the list for that reason. And I do really like this horse design, although I think my favorite of the zodiac weeks still is the rabbit one, and then followed by the snake one because of the snake with the top hat. I just didn't like the background color of the snake weeks last year, which is why I didn't end up going with it. But I do like this brown. So that's why these two made the cut. This one has really captured my attention. This one is called En Route to Kumamoto Port at Dawn. I really love this week's, not only because it's beautiful, but it's the fact that it is beautiful. It's sunrise, one of my favorite times of day. It's calming to look at. I love that it's actually pastel, not a photo. And the more I read about the artist, the more I really fell in love with this cover. I love his background, the fact that he's so open about living with bipolar disorder. And then on top of that, he has been running a crisis line on his personal cell phone. And that is something that really speaks to me personally. So I volunteered at a crisis line, and it's just something that was so meaningful to me. And I love that he does this just on his own and offers this service to people who are struggling. So I think I'm just really drawn not only to how beautiful this cover is, but the person and the story behind it. So this one has really kind of stood out to me. This one I really like. This is the Iu o Kumi, A Story About Me. It's the one that looks like it's embroidered, and what I really like about it is the fact that it has a dog and a cat. One of my favorite ways that I've seen someone use a weeks is Terrible Hime used a weeks as a cat journal, and it's one of my favorite creative uses for a weeks, and I have seriously contemplated using something like this for Coconut because he is getting older and he is really showing his age, and the idea that I could have an entire year's worth of memories and photos dedicated to him, because he does something every day that makes me laugh, even if it's the same thing. I love the idea. I don't know if I could keep up with something like this, so I'm gonna talk myself out of doing this, even though every time I see Terrible Hime's cat journal, I get super tempted. I think this is one of those things where I'll be more disappointed if I don't keep up with it. So I think I could really only do it if I was like sure that I could take this project on. So maybe it'll be a spring start kind of thing. Like if I'm really wanting to do it, then I could start in April. And I think that's what I'll do. So I'm gonna already move this out, even though I think the idea of having a coconut journal is the best. But I'm gonna hold off on that for now. Now we have this Co-Light, A Bright Year weeks. And this one is the antique green colors. And then this one is the 100% orange. It's called Squirrels Moving Day. And then this one is Yuchi Inoi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's called Emanimo Makazu. Okay, so let's just talk about these four. So first of all, this one is absolutely stunning. I really love this one. I just don't know if I will love it for an entire year. So as much as I love this one, I don't think this one is the one for me. So I'm gonna move that out. Antique green. This was a weeks that I really loved the second I saw it. I just love this shade of green, and I love that this comes in a Weeks Mega option. I think these two come in Weeks Mega options. So if I wanted to have more notes pages, then I think these would be the two that I would have to choose between, because I don't think the rest of these come in a Weeks Mega. So I'm just going to kind of put these to the side here. But because there's enough of other designs that I like more, that I think I can pick from the rest of these. So I'm just going to move that to the side. Okay, so now we're down to, I guess we're kind of down to 5. This one, I don't know why I really love this one. I think it's the fact that on the back, there's all these scribbles on it. I liked reading about the calligrapher who did this. I'm just looking at my laptop right now, but it's saying that he would write even when his crayon broke, and he would just scratch out mistakes with intense strokes, pushing forward in a single burst of energy. And yeah, I just really like that idea of like, okay, you're gonna make mistakes, but you're just gonna like cross it out. You're not gonna, carefully try to mark it out as if it never happened, or you're not going to start over again. You're just gonna keep going. And you're going to leave that there and carry on. I just love how real this is. So I do really love this one. And then this squirrel one is so cute. There's a little squirrel with a cane. I don't know. I just love how cute these little squirrels are. They make me smile. Like, it's an instant smile. I was really charmed by it. I think if I were going to use a Weeks as my health and wellness, I would continue with the theme of picking a Weeks that's really cute and really makes me smile, because I just like that idea of having a really cheerful Weeks to open up and track my health and wellness. But because I want to continue tracking that in my daily planner, just for simplicity's sake, even though it's not as fun as having a separate book, I also think that it just simplifies things for me to have it all in one book. So even if it's not as fun, it's more like functional for me. I'm going to continue in my A6 for now. That's how I'm feeling, but I'm also not sure because we still have a few more months in the year. So I'm going to put this in the no pile, but this is another one where if I'm really missing it and I'm feeling completely out of touch with my health, then I could see myself getting this in April. So if this were an April start, or maybe in the spring, if they come out with new cute Weeks, like maybe that's another time that I can consider it. So I think I'm going to also say no to this one, this fabric one, even though I think it's really beautiful and calming, and I bet it would be really lovely to hold in my hand. I don't feel like a personal connection to it in the way that I do with these two. And I think I'm also going to say no to the horse, because I do like it, but I don't love it. I don't feel a connection to it. I would only be getting it for the sake of having like a bow and tie Weeks. So I'm going to put this away as well. Okay, so that leaves me with these two. I'm going to put these aside for now. I really don't know. Let's move on to the covers. So these were the covers that really caught my eye. I think, okay, so this is the 5-year Hiroko Kubota. This is the toe light. It's the same in the A5 and the A6, but I was looking at the A6 one. This is the Foggy Plaid, and then this is the Hodor Stroll in light brown, so the A6 version. I guess I'll start with this. It makes no sense for me to get this. I do have a 5-year in the A5 size, and I am still updating it, but I do already have a cover for it. And even though I prefer this cover, I don't think it makes sense for me to get another cover because it's really not something that I feel like I need to switch around. If this cover had existed when I was looking for a cover, I would definitely have chosen this one, but I don't need it. So the thing that I was the most tempted by was one of the books I'm considering for next year is the Midori Hibino. And I have read that the 5-year covers can fit the Hibino. So there was a part of me that thought, could I just get this as my cover for the Hibino? And then I can still have this beautiful cover. But there isn't really any benefit to this cover aside from it being beautiful. So I think I'm going to hold off on this. If this cover still exists when I finish my 5-year, which will be in another 2 years, then maybe I can get it then if I were to get a new 5-year. Or maybe by then there'll be another 5-year cover that I'll love just as much, if not more. So I absolutely adore this cover so much, and I really love all of Hiroko Kubota's covers, and I don't have any of them because I always talk myself out of it, but I do really love it. So anyway, I'm gonna put this away, but I was so charmed by this cover. Okay, so we have these two covers, and I was considering the A6 Hon, but I am not really in love with any of the covers that they came out with this year. There is a Hiroko Kubota A6 cover, and it's adorable. It's like a cat sitting on piano keys, and there's a violin on the back. It's really cute, but I just don't think that is the cover for me for a year. I think if they had this style with the black and if it wasn't the shiny cover, I think that would have been really tempting. But the piano one is like, I wouldn't mind that as print, but I don't necessarily think I would want it as a cover. So no Hon. And then I thought, well, if I don't get that, maybe I can get a new cover, because I'm currently using this A6 Wonder Pens TSL cover for my A6, and it's worked out really well. But my A6 is starting to chunk up, and I have been feeling like this is a little bit tight. So I think I'm going to continue using it, but this might be the kind of cover where I'll use it for like half the year until my A6 gets really chunky, and then maybe I'll switch it out into something else for the latter half of the year, which, I mean, could keep things interesting. So these are some options. I do have 2 covers that I got back in 2023 when I went a little crazy. So I might also put those back into rotation. This is beautiful, but I really don't need a new cover, and I already have a cover that has the butterfly loops, and like there isn't really anything different to this cover that it can offer me aside from it being a really cute pattern. So I'm gonna put that away. And same with this cover. I think if this cover was different, like maybe if it were a zip cover, like the Cafe au lait, I think it was called, from last year, then it would be different enough that it would be like a different type of cover altogether. But I already have a fabric cover. I think it was called the Twinkle Tweed. And I do admit I prefer this one over the Twinkle Tweed, but I already invested in that one. So I don't really think I need this. But somebody shared a photo on a Facebook group, like a close-up of this cover, and it looked so stunning. I think if I could see this in person, I probably would be even more tempted. But because I'm just staring at a photo online, I think I've been able to talk myself out of it. So I'm not going to go for this, but if I still love it and it's still available in the spring or next year, then I might consider getting it in the future. But I think for this year, I'm not going to get it. Okay, so this one is another A6 cover. This is the Poder Stroll. And what I really like about this is it is a different experience to the butterfly cases. It's also different to my A6 portfolio zip, where this opens all the way. So what I like about it is I could, I've read that this is a roomier case, which means I believe this could also fit the Midori Hibino, which again is a book that I'm considering getting for next year. So I like that it would fit the A6, but it would also fit the Hibino, which is like a chunky book. And I love that it has all these extra pockets. So I could use this, like I could fit so many things in it. I mean, this is a really silly use case, but it's still a compelling one to me. If I'm out and I need to open up my planner, then I can just open this up like a book and then use it, and it would have my pen already there. Here, when I'm out, I have to like open this up, pull this out, open it up, and write in it, and it's definitely not a big deal. Like, it's totally doable. So I know I'm reaching a little bit, but I think this is something that I do want to invest in. I also want to shout out Moonlit Journal. She has the A5 version of this, and she's spoken so highly of this in her videos and also in our catch-ups. I also want to give credit to a few different people who have spoken highly of this case. So earlier this year, I watched Joy of Stationery talk about this beautiful case. Also, Saint VLTN. I will leave a link in my description, but they also shared a really thorough review of it, and they also showed that you could fit a hon in the case. And so what I like about it is the fact that if over the years I decide that I want to try like a hon or a Hibino or an A6, I know that this will fit all of those iterations. And so I think this is a really versatile cover, but it is really expensive. But I think it has enough benefits and it offers more than my other covers that it's a little more versatile than my other ones. So, and I like this colorway better than the black version that they came out with last year. So yeah, this I think I would like to get, but I don't have to have it, but I would like this one. So we are down to this cover. We are down to this supplement, and then I forgot to print it out, but imagine there's an A6. I think I'm just gonna get the regular book this year. We're down to these two. I don't think I'm gonna make a final decision in this video because I wanna sit with it a little longer. I like these for different reasons, and I connect with these two for different reasons, so I will sit with that, but hold me accountable. I'm not gonna get both. I really want to challenge myself to just get one, and then if I absolutely feel like I want to get another one, I can wait till the spring. So it'll be one of these two. And I think this video has gotten already really long, so I'm just going to share really quickly some of the accessories that I'm thinking about. So the first are these adorable little color-themed dots and tabs. I admit I do not need them at all. They just really caught my eye, and I love how they match the colors in the techo. I think something I realized when I started contemplating other alternatives for planners for next year is I was really trying to understand why I like the techo so much, like what's so fun about it. I've mentioned the artist collabs, I've mentioned that it's structured but not too structured, but I also think I like the different colors, and I know the colors can be polarizing for people. But because I don't really decorate my pages and it's more functional for me, the color is just one more touch where it just feels a little more, I don't know, like they've taken care of me somehow. Like they've just made it just a little more fun and a little more engaging, because I'm not necessarily doing that myself in my planner. For my memory keeping, I'm definitely trying to decorate, and I'm trying really hard to, like, you know, have fun with being creative, but I'm definitely not being creative in my planner. And so little touches like these colors, they really speak to me. So I like these, but I'm going to put this away because I do not need those dots. As cute as they are, I do not need them. I'm going to kind of hang on to these tabs because I do like them, but I do have some Traveler's Notebook tabs from their yearly sticker sets. So this is kind of a maybe because I don't need these. I don't even use tabs, but this makes me want to use tabs. I don't know. This is something that I really wanted to get last year, and I did not because it sold out when I made my order, and I wasn't going to make another Hobonichi order for this. So I do kind of want this Penco paper bag pen holder, but we'll see. I'm not going to get any of the Yumi Kitagishi like books, but I do really love some of these like little stationery things. Do I need all of these? I do not. So I think if I only were to get one thing, I think I would get these stickers because these are really cute. I do love these letters a lot, but I think maybe I'll put these to the side. I also really loved these little, like, I think these are sticky notes. I don't need them, but I'm gonna maybe keep them here for now. I do not need a notebook, but I really love this cover. It's one of my favorite covers, so I'm just gonna put it here for now. I was really charmed by the whole Moomin collection. In the past, I have really admired the Moomin covers that were not available for purchase, like they were the collabs that you had to get. Like I think you could only get them in Japan or through like a reseller. But I didn't really like the Moomin designs for this year as much as I liked the past ones. So in terms of that collection, I think I would like to get the sticky notes because I use sticky notes all the time. And I think this is like the stamp set, which I really liked. So if I were to get anything, it would be these two things. And then this is the pencil board. This is the front and back. This is an A6 pencil board from the EU Okumi collection. I don't really need a new pencil board. So as much as I really like this one, I could probably live without it. I think I do have enough pencil boards, so maybe I won't go for that. Although I do really like it. Okay, I don't know. It's gonna stay in the maybe. Okay, the maybe pile is here. Okay, the maybe pile is here. I feel pretty good about, maybe this is a maybe. I really like this. And then this is, again, kind of a little bit silly, but I liked the Tamagotchi collection. I mean, it brought back a lot of memories of my childhood when Tamagotchi was really big, but I didn't really think I wanted to invest in like a week's or anything like that. But I think these stickers are so cute. So if I could, I'd like to get these stickers. And then this is the Deco Rush of the squirrels. I think these are so cute, and I would really like this because I do admit the Deco Rush can sometimes be finicky. Sometimes they work fine, and then other times they just like do not work. I always thought as long as you used a flat surface, it would work. But the other day, one of my Deco Rush, just like no matter what I did, was not working. So if this came in like a sticker a sticker or a washi tape, I would prefer that. But if this is the only thing I get from that 100% orange collection, I wouldn't be too upset. Hopefully it will work. So I think there we have it. Aside from me still needing to pick one of the weeks, I think this is what I'm probably going to go with. I'm going to sit on it and think about it a bit more. I also need to add all of this up and see what it'll cost because this is a huge expense. So I just need to think about how much I really want this. Also, I don't plan on making a purchase on launch day. So I don't know if this is the kind of thing that will sell out. If it does sell out, then I would hope they would restock it. And if so, then I guess I would have to wait until they restock. But I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't foresee the weeks selling out. I don't see the weekly supplement selling out. I could see some of these accessories selling out because that's what happened to me in the previous years where I had wanted some accessories, but they sold out and I just didn't want to make a second Hobonichi order. So I think I would like to wait till the dust settles and then ideally make a purchase when it's not crazy. And I would just have a bit of time to really think through, what I want to get. So this is what I'm thinking. If you're still here, I know this was a really long video. So if you're still here, thank you for hanging out with me today and spending this time with me. Let me know what you think of my final selection. Which of the weeks do you think I should go with if I'm planning on using it as more of like a memory keeping / media consumption type of weeks? And let me know what your thoughts are. If you're planning on shopping from Hobonichi, what are your picks? If you're not planning on shopping, totally understand. It was a really rough year last year. So hopefully whatever you're choosing instead, you're really excited about. All right, well, that's all for me today. Thanks again for hanging out with me, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye.